Hello, friends, welcome to I Want to Know More. And today I will tell you about the company Apple and the great man Steve Jobs. Enjoy watching. 100 Amazing Facts About Apple. 1. Apple was founded by three people, in fact, not two: Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. 2. Steve Jobs and Jonathan Ive have the same middle name, Paul. 3. Before joining Apple, Jonathan Ive worked for a company called Tangerine, which means tangerine. 4. The original Apple I computer was sold for $666.66. 5. The Apple Store, which is on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, the transparent cube, is considered one of the most photographed landmarks in the world. 6. Steve Jobs tried LSD and called it one of the three most important things he did in his life. 7. As you may have noticed, Jonathan Ive has worn his unchanging shirt to every video presentation of Apple products since 2000. 8. Before founding Apple, Steve Jobs worked at Atari. 9. Steve Jobs was a Buddhist. 10. Steve Jobs' birth father was Abdul Fattah Jandali, a native of Syria. 11. Steve Jobs met 21-year-old Steve Wozniak when he was 16. 12. An interesting acquisition of Steve Jobs was Pixar. He bought that company from George Lucas for $10 million, and then sold it to Disney for $7.6 billion. 13. Steve Jobs has 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. 14. Jonathan Ive has 2 twin sons. 15. Steve Jobs denied being the father of his first child, Lisa Brennan Jobs. 16. Jobs sold his apartment in New York to U2 frontman Bono. 17. In 1998, Steve Jobs gave Bill Clinton the use of his mansion in California's Woodside. 18. In 2009, Steve Jobs had a liver transplant at Memphis Hospital. 19. Founded Apple on April 1st. 20. Jobs' biological sister is the novelist Mona Simpson. 21. Apple once disposed of 2,700 unsold Lisa computers at a landfill in Utah. 22. There are a total of 30 to 50 original Apple computers today. 23. The 1976 Apple logo was an image of Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree. 24. The modern Apple logo was designed by Rob Yanoff. 25. A funny play on words is the company's first slogan, "Bite into an apple." Bite is translated as bite. 26. Apple was the first company to introduce a mouse and trackpad. 27. When Steve Jobs was kicked out of Apple, he started a not-so-successful company called Next. 28. In 2001, the market price of Apple stock was less than $8 apiece. 29. In January 2007, the word computer disappeared from Apple Incorporated's corporate name. 30. Apple.com is on the list of the 50 most visited websites in the world. 31. Apple's history began not in a garage, but on a bed at 11161 Crist Drive in Los Altos. 32. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak worked part-time at Hewlett-Packard during the summer. 33. The Apple II became Apple's longest-running computer. It was available for 11 years. 34. Apple did not sell Windows-compatible iPods for 9 months after the device was introduced. 35. All of the images of the gadgets on Apple's website show the same time, 9:41 for iOS devices and 10:50 for Macs. 36. Among Apple products was a console called Pippin. 37. The director of the famous 1984 Macintosh commercial was Ridley Scott, the creator of Alien and Gladiator. 38. Apple created the dog cow image in 1983. The animal knew how to pronounce muff. 39. The most serious parody of Jobs on Twitter was the @CEOSteveJobs account. It is now defunct. 40. Jobs' annual salary was only $1. 41. Steve Jobs met his wife at Stanford. 42. Despite being one of the largest companies in the world, Apple has a small board of directors. 43. Former U.S. Vice President Albert Gore served on Apple's board of directors. 44. Steve Jobs never finished his college education. 45. Ronald Reagan awarded Steve Jobs the U.S. National Medal of Technology. 46. An invariable part of Steve Jobs' closet was a St. Croix turtleneck. Croix, Levi's 501 blue jeans, there were more than 100 of them, and New Balance 992 sneakers. 47. In 2008, Bloomberg accidentally published a 2,500-word obituary dedicated to Steve Jobs, leaving the age and cause of death fields blank. 48. In 1974, Steve Jobs traveled to India in search of enlightenment. 49. Steve Jobs was dyslexic. 50. In third grade, Steve Jobs detonated a firecracker under the teacher's chair. 51. There have been some curious incidents. For example, when Steve Jobs worked at Atari, he was transferred to the night shift because he did not follow hygiene and simply smelled. 52. Steve Jobs and his wife were strict vegetarians. 53. Steve Jobs' favorite food was apples, but you could also find sushi in his diet. 54. Steve Jobs convinced the president of PepsiCo to work for Apple. 55. In 2007, when the world saw the first iPhone, Starbucks ordered 4,000 lattes. The order was made by none other than Steve Jobs, who called during the presentation with the iPhone. 56. Steve Jobs had a very large foot size, a 48. 57. Steve Jobs often parked in handicapped spaces at Apple headquarters. 58. Steve Jobs dated the famous singer Joan Baez. 59. According to analysts, Apple's capitalization could reach $1 trillion. 60. As a Buddhist and vegetarian, Steve Jobs tried to treat cancer with a special diet. 61. Apple has borrowed the idea of a graphical user interface from Xerox. 62. Umberto Eco devoted one of his notes to the confrontation between Mac and DOS, comparing the two systems to Catholicism and Protestantism. 63. Apple has been retailing since 2001. 64. Phil Schiller, Apple's senior vice president of marketing, almost got his PhD in English. 65. Actor Noah Wyle played Steve Jobs in the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley. 66. Apple's major products are updated once a year, although this tradition has recently been undergoing a change. 67. The average personal computer user spends up to 50 hours a year solving technical problems. The average Mac user spends only 5 hours a year. 68. Teachers and students who use a Mac are 44% more productive than others. 69. After the first presentation, Steve Jobs gave out free iPhones to every Apple employee. 70. Apple was developing a tablet even before it started working on the iPhone. But the iPad was not introduced until 3 years after the iPhone. 71. The codename for the iPod was Dulcimer. 72. Gonzo, Jedi, Malibu, Peter Pan, Rosebud, and Yikes were all codenames for the Mac. 73. As conceived by Steve Jobs, the Macintosh was just a code name that he planned to change afterwards. 74. Time magazine wanted to name Steve Jobs Man of the Year in 1982, even sending a reporter to interview him several times, but instead named the Computer Machine of the Year. 75. Steve Jobs once appeared as a computer icon that Susan Kare created while working on the Macintosh team. 76. Hammer thrower Anya Major threw a hammer at the screen in a famous 1984 commercial. 77. The 1984 ad was originally conceived to promote the Apple II and was to appear in the Wall Street Journal. 78. Apple's board of directors didn't like the 1984 ad and still decided to take a chance. 79. The first image on the Macintosh was the Disney character Scrooge McDuck. 80. In 2010, Apple's market capitalization for the first time since 1989 exceeded the capitalization of Microsoft. 81. Apple's online store was opened on November 10, 1997. 82. The first Apple retail stores were opened in Virginia and California. 83. The Apple campus in Cupertino was built in 1993. It is 6 buildings with a total area of 80,000 square meters. 84. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955. 85. As a child, Steve Jobs lived in a house on San Francisco's 45th Avenue. 86. Little Steve Jobs drank a bottle of formic acid and ended up in intensive care. 87. In high school, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak used to make and sell blue boxes that allowed them to crack phone codes and make free phone calls around the world. 88. In 1972, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak made $3 an hour walking around Westgate Mall dressed as Alice in Wonderland characters. 89. Steve Jobs came to Apple's first Halloween costume party dressed as Jesus Christ. 90. When IBM introduced its first personal computer, Apple ran an ad in the Wall Street Journal saying, "Welcome, IBM." Seriously. 91. In 1982, Steve Jobs promised Bill Gates and Microsoft never to work on software that would involve a mouse except for Apple. 92. Steve Jobs was cast as President Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, in a 1984 commercial parody called 1944 depicting the Mac and IBM computer war. 93. Paul Rand, author of the IBM logo, was hired to create the next identity and logo. 94. Steve Jobs and Lauren Powell were married March 18 at the Ahwahnee Hotel in Yosemite National Park. 95. Jony Ive's start at Apple coincided with the 20th anniversary of the Mac. 96. Steve Jobs once sold the King of Spain a NeXT computer that had not yet been officially introduced. 97. Steve Jobs once asked NASA to let him fly the space shuttle. 98. Steve Jobs repeatedly talked about how learning calligraphy in college helped him. 99. Steve Jobs was adopted. 100. Steve Jobs died on October 5, 2011, the day after the launch of the iPhone 4S. Thank you all for watching. See you very soon.